bin.
Where did you dig up that old fossil?
Going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
That's no moon.
We're all fine here now, thank you. How are you?
Welcome to the Star Wars Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Badabonker.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
Kenton, we have some breaking news unrelated to Star Wars, but still stuff we talk about a lot on this podcast, which is...
Mike Nesmith died from the Monkees.
Yeah, I guess lead singer, you could say, the front man.
They all took turns.
They did take turns. Yeah, they're kind of like the Beatles. They're kind of like the Beatles in that regard. And that's it. That's the only way in which they're like the Beatles. That's it.
Well, catchy pop ditties.
Oh yeah.
But
and the look, they mimicked the look of the Beatles, right? That was part of the show, right? They were trying to cash in on that fame of the mop top fads, so that was part of it. I just recently watched a documentary about the Monkees. I don't remember where it was. It might have been just on YouTube, something on YouTube about them. Really interesting story about how that band got together and then what happened afterwards.
Yeah, there's a documentary out. Is that the one you watched?
I don't remember what it was called. I don't know. It was just a documentary about the band, about how they got together. There was they formed through tryouts. It was for a show. Like they started with the show of the idea of the show about the band, and then they became an actual band and wrote their own music, and then went on tour. And then I don't know. The funny thing is, when I encountered the Monkees was in the 80s when I was a kid, and there were always reruns on TV. That show was always in reruns. So I would watch it after school. I'd just come home and watch the Monkees, and I love the theme song, man. That's such a good theme song.
And the Brady Bunch subplot where Marsha wanted to meet a member of the Monkees. Davy Jones from the Monkees?
He's the British one.
Do I have that right? That's right. Yeah, that's right. And so that was a plot device and I remember that was probably the first place I heard of the Monkees. And then the three surviving Monkees played the Red River X, and I saw them there.
When was that?
Oh, it must have been the 80s. It must have been, it was past their time had expired and they were doing a reunion tour. And I remember seeing it there, and it was in that weird setup where the stage was like far away. There's like a moat.
I remember that. Yes,
between the stage and the stands.
Mickey Dolenz was also. We're talking about everybody but Mike Nesmith, of course.
Right.
But
Peter Tork. Let's throw his name in.
Let's talk about all of them. But Mickey Dolenz actually, there was a run where he was like doing all these Canadian game shows. Do you remember that? Where he was like the celebrity guest on like Win, Lose or Draw and stuff like that. He was always like I don't know, so weird. The 90s were a weird decade. Anyway, so there you go. Rest in peace, Mr. Nesmith. I mean, he was kind of I've always thought he was the more kind of reclusive one that didn't really, when they were famous in my view, he was not out there talking, right? He was more of a recluse.
He was a quieter guy. I think he was the guy with the talent. Most people saw him as. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The quiet, troubled loner is the one with the talent, as usual. It's like the old joke about school. It's like, who's that kid drooling and rocking in the corner? Oh, he's gifted. It's similar to that old joke.
And did he wear the toque? Did he always wear the toque, or was that something that he finally got rid of? That was his look. He wore the toque, and then of course the kids would call it a beanie. My kids would call it a beanie for crying out loud.
What?
Yes,
they'd call it a. Come on,
it's the YouTuber influence, Kenton. I tell you, those YouTubers from the States are influencing my kids. They're not calling it a toque. Apparently, it's only a toque if it has a pom pom, which Mike Nesmith did. So there you go. It is a toque.
By the way, so here in his obituary, he died of natural causes at age 78, and I'm just gonna see if there's any other. Key fact in here. Oh, in recent months, he'd performed on a reunion tour with the group, and he avoided the band's 20th anniversary reunion in 1986. That's what I saw them.
That's what you're talking about. Yes.
Yes. That's the one that I saw. So he wasn't with them. Pardon me. This was a long time ago. I don't remember. It's a long.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. High school. I finished high school that year, for God's sakes, or the year before that. He wrote a lot of songs. So here we go. Of course, he wrote Different Drum for Linda Ronstadt.
Oh,
it was a hit for Linda Ronstadt, and Run DMC covered Mary Mary. So there you go. There's some some more facts about him. But anyway, the article goes on and on and on and on. So there's lots to say about him, and we've only scratched the surface. But it actually reminds me, we have to do our Media Nerds episode of the year in review. Where, and by the way, my list of dead people this year, it's like 10,000 people. Like I'll have to jump over, like I'll have to read one for every 10 or something.
How are they going to do it? Like, what do they do at the Oscars when there's too many dead people? They kind of gloss over some of the. They always whoever they gloss over, people get upset about it. Doesn't matter who it is. Some minor producer that nobody ever heard of. They're like, well, he didn't get enough recognition because he was an awesome. I mean, I'm sure he was an awesome person, but if we don't know who he is, we're not going to be able to feel sympathy, right?
Last year, they basically fast forwarded through the deaths, and it was even some big ones. It was, well, I guess people fast forward through movies now. So it's the same thing. They just fast forward through the death and they go, watch it on regular speed, watch it on slow speed when the ceremony's over. But I know it's getting ridiculous the way they do that. There's nothing heartfelt about it. And then, by the way, you have to zoom out and then zoom in on Josh Groban singing some maudlin song at the same time. So it's better just to be left out of that reel.
Well, that's what I should do. Actually, I'll add some music underneath it when we do it. Yeah, we'll do that soon. I think probably once we're done, we only have like there's only 2 more movies. So today we're of course going to be talking about Empire Strikes Back. Let's get to the point of the podcast, Dan. The second film in the second film in the franchise, but the 5th movie in the story, the 5th saga film, the 5th movie we've watched. We only have one more after that, Return of the Jedi, and then we can watch, or then we can do our Media Nerds end of the year thing for everything.
Well, and then it'll be Book of Boba Fett time,
right? And then we're coming right back into Star Wars. So it will take a brief break for Media Nerds, but back into Star Wars and then it'll take us into January with all the other stuff. So cool stuff.
What? How? What are you talking about? Huh? What? Goodness gracious me.
So there is some news, Star Wars news happening this week, and it is the new game called Star Wars Eclipse, which was, I guess it had already been announced, but this was like, oh, well, maybe not. Its world premiere was at the Game Awards yesterday. And so they launched it. They showed this trailer for it. I sent you the trailer, and we're not going to watch it here. It's mostly music. So there's not a lot of talking. It's a lot of CGI. But what did you think of it overall?
I liked it a lot. My key takeaway is drumming.
Yes.
Yes. And then the guy turns around and he's a badass. When he's not drumming, he is a badass.
Yes.
That's what I took. That was my key takeaway. Oh, and C-3PO.
What's that?
C-3PO in Skeletor form.
Right. So this is actually a game that apparently takes place during the High Republic era, which is about 200 years before the era that we're familiar with, the Skywalker saga.
But then then that wasn't C-3PO.
Well, maybe it's a flashback, right? Maybe we're getting the Johnny Depp as the old, right? That old thing with C-3PO as the storyteller, and he's going to be telling us the story.
You're right. God
the
damn
old
it. How did I not know that?
I don't know. Come on, man. You're the one who came up with that. So
how did I not think of it? Exactly.
Maybe not
for every scenario.
I mean, it could be a deliberate bait and switch. I wouldn't surprise me if it was a completely different. I like the way though you could see like his innards working a little bit better. That something we really couldn't make out in the prequels that well at the time. But when in this trailer, you could see like gears turning and stuff. So maybe it is an early droid. Maybe all it is meant to be is like a steampunk version of C-3PO or something like that.
Yeah.
Could be. It is by who's the game publisher here? Quantic Dream. So this is not the one that our former student who works at Ubisoft is talking about. Ubisoft is also working on one apparently. I don't know which one this is or that is. But this is they also developed the game Human Detroit Rising, right? What is it called again? Detroit Human Rising.
That Detroit game, people have recommended that game to me 10,000 times, and I'm like, Detroit, what? And then I try to look for it, and I'm like, I don't see anything with Detroit in it.
Something about Detroit. What's the name of the game?
I don't know.
Oh my God.
Something about Detroit, but every time I look it up, nothing comes up. When I look it up in the Xbox store.
Become Human. Detroit Become
Human.
Human.
Called?
I believe so.
Is that what it's called?
I think so. Oh man, where's the? Come on, can we get just show me like about us, please? Company, yes. Let's see.
Detroit. I got my ass kicked at a Red Wings game. That's the name. That's
Detroit,
the full
yes,
title.
it is Detroit Become Human. Yes, it is. So apparently, and that's a PC only game. So this might also be a PC only game. I hope it's not. I hope it's available for consoles, right? Like we're still probably a couple years out from this being an actual game we'll be able to play. And so everything we saw was really high res graphics. It's all clearly cinematic stuff. None of it is like gameplay footage, I don't think. But it looks very like cinematic. It looks very like really cool to see this era of Star Wars, something we really have not seen in this way before.
No, yeah, it looks like a good game. And even there's a good distant shot of two people with lightsabers fighting. It looks cool. It just looks like every once in a while you're just in the mood for a good Star Wars game, and this looks like that it could be it.
I think
So
I might
looking
try
forward to
replaying Fallen Order. I might do that because I remember we talked about it. Like you could play through it again, and it's kind of designed for you to play through it again when you have the abilities, right? Remember that?
Yeah, but even then, we want teleportation devices to get back to the beginning. It's
that was right. That was the issue. Okay, well I'll give it a try.
It is easier once you have all the abilities.
It is.
But still not perfect.
But I think you could play it on a more difficult level, and then the abilities kind of like it balances out and becomes more challenging. I've had a lot of fun playing Zelda on the harder level. There's a thing called Master Mode in Breath of the Wild, and it's really a lot of fun, a lot more challenging to play it, and I'm having a lot of fun. So I might do that again with
great.
Fallen Order.
Sorry, one more item, and that item was Book of Boba Fett. There's been 1 billion trailers. And each with little new scenes in them. Okay, maybe not 1 billion, but there's a few trailers circulating out there, each with kind of different scenes in them. And the most recent one had a couple of cool scenes, and there's some speculation out there. And I'm going to say it's accurate speculation that Boba Fett, in fact, is being pictured at Tosche Station, where Luke was going to go get those power converters. I think we're going to see Tosche Station, and awesome. It's even better if you freeze frame one of the shots, and you can find it pretty easily.
I'll link to it. I'll link to it in the show notes if I remember.
Okay. Yeah, you can find it easily online if you Google. Where I'm on a Reddit page, and they've got a freeze frame of those two. You know those guys with the it's like crater heads that are on Jabba's barge. Those guys.
Yes.
Okay, they're roughing up two people at Tosche Station, and they appear to be Cammy and Fixer, Luke's original friends from the cut edition of A New Hope.
Are you serious?
Yes.
That's crazy.
And so you can see them in the picture being roughed up, and they have a comparison. Although they said it's Cammy and Lays.
That's a deep. Well, I mean, they could rename them if they wanted to. Technically, those characters don't exist.
I think it's Fixer. Now I might be wrong about that because I mean they're deleted scenes, and somewhere along the line I might have got it mixed up, but. That's
a deep cut. That's good.
I like bringing deleted character or not deleted. Yeah, I guess deleted scene characters into the franchise. I love it. Although it looks like they might, if they're in there, they might be in there quickly disposed of.
That's kind of but that's the best kind of Easter egg, I think. Is like it's like seeing the Salacious Crumb. I can't remember what species he is, but seeing that just the one shot of him being the other one being cooked or whatever, that was hilarious. And that's all we need. We don't need his life story and what he's been doing since Jabba's palace. It's probably not the same one. That one probably died in the sail barge. Maybe we will see him. Salacious Crumb.
I wonder if we will, but that's very interesting. Whatever happened to, or maybe he'll be watching TV and it'll be like a Robin Leach. Like, what's up, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, and it'll be Salacious Crumb on the TV.
Yes, that's right.
On the hologram.
All right. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. The thing I think about these whenever they do this, and they've done this before with other movies, and maybe with The Mandalorian, I don't really remember it, but I think I really remember it for. I certainly remember for The Force Awakens, and maybe for the other two ones as well in the main saga films, when they kind of release all these other versions of a trailer just to kind of get other versions out there. And you see, and so what happened was, and this would happen, I mean, I think it's because everyone's so eager for new scenes, right? And so this kind of satisfies that urge. Because I remember this was very distinctly when those trailers would come on. Jack, who was a little kid at the time, man, that was so long ago. The Force Awakens. Oh man, we're
I
like
know.
6 years ago. So Jack would have been 9. He would have been saying,
Wow.
Dad, another Force Awakens trailer. And I'd run in and it was the exact same trailer, except for one little tiny thing different.
Right.
I'd be like, whatever. Like I was so let down
I
by
know.
that. So I don't really care at this point to see all these little different things. I'll see it when I see it. I don't like, you've sold me on it. And I think they're
Right.
at this point, they don't need to be doing those types of trailer releases. I just think just do the main ones and then let us see it. And these will be, of course, we'll see them on TV, but also YouTube and all the other places where you can see advertising. We're going to have to do another, speaking of meat eaters, we'll do another episode. I think I've had some great experiences with online streaming platforms we need to talk about, but we'll talk about that on another episode.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the marketing. I actually think that Book of Boba Fett's it's a little quiet on the
I agree.
marketing front.
It
We're
is.
We're not getting really we're not getting hit over the head with it.
Nope.
And it really is the next chapter in the Mandalorian story as well. If you look at it that way too, it picks up the chapter. It's the Book of Boba Fett chapter from the Mandalorian spin-off.
I don't think that's people are really realizing that though. I don't think
think
most
they
people
are.
don't understand that.
No.
And maybe it'll make it more apparent when the show comes out. But
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I see out there is Baby Yoda. There's a shit ton of Baby Yoda merch everywhere, but
Yeah.
that's just like left over. I think that's like from 2 years ago when they should have had it out and they didn't. And now
Yeah.
we've got all this Baby Yoda merch just sitting there. And I sent you a picture of the big. Did you get your inflatable lawn Baby Yoda, Kenton?
Oh my God. I need to get it. A friend of mine got it and he said he offered to set it up in my front yard. And I said, no, I'll just come to your house and I'll just shoot it there where it is. You don't have to bring it here. And then I forgot to make those arrangements, but I will because I want to shoot it for TikTok. I want
Somebody
the giant baby.
Oh, I
Yoda.
love your TikToks. Yeah. Somebody on this happened on TikTok too. Somebody suggested that we go around just like tackling all the inflate because you can walk down the street and they're like everywhere. These inflatable things. It's like the new fad for Christmas decorations and Halloween. By the way, there were a ton of Halloween ones out there as well because they're very easy to put up and take down, I guess. But yeah, go around and just tackle them and go and like do a suplex back elbow body slam. I'm like, yeah, 25 years ago, I would have done that. I totally would have gone out and done that if those things were out there. We did not have that when I was in my early 20s. So.
It's so cold outside.
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't
now
know
it
how
is,
you
yes.
keep those bloody things inflated in the first place.
Oh
But
God, you're heating the neighborhood. You're literally heating the neighborhood.
Yeah,
with
that's
those things.
true.
That's all you're doing.
it's like you're the casino in Vegas that pumps air conditioning out into the desert.
Yeah.
Like the absolute worst thing that you could be doing. You're doing the opposite version of that, where you're pumping heat out
That's right.
into the neighborhood, into the minus 30 degree
Yeah.
neighborhood.
Global warming. Who cares? All right.
Yeah, exactly. Who cares?
All right, let's move on. Empire Strikes Back, widely regarded, I think, by most people as the best Star Wars film. It's hard to argue with that right after you've watched it. Like
Oh.
after you finish watching it, and you're sitting there going, just so intense and so amazing, and you're like, that was a amazing experience.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, the battle in the snow, a double cross, a crazy revelation at the end of the film that was so big, it can never be done again. It can never be done again. It's been done. It's like the Citizen Kane revelation. It can't be done again because the one time it was done made such a crater-like impact that just doing it it'd be like calling yourself out for not being creative enough or whatever. But yes, it's so good. I love everything about this movie.
Yeah, it's really good. I watch it on. Do I have it in front of me? Yes, I do. I watch it on. Sorry, I don't have it in front of me, but this is the DVD version. I think you probably have this.
Oh,
version
yes,
as well.
I do.
This does have a special edition, but although the only special edition, really, the thing that was added was the Wampa scene, right? That's the only add-on. Was there anything else? Maybe some tweaking here and there. But...
Yes, the Cloud City.
the Cloud
was
City stuff.
redesigned.
Yes, that's all redesigned as well.
And
Correct.
but that's not, they don't hit you over the head with it. It's a little bit, there's a little here, a little there. They probably didn't need to do it, but it's fine. You know, as far as those
I
things
would
go.
say the Cloud City stuff. I forgot about it. Clearly, it's not memorable if I didn't remember it. And I like the approach shots. Like there's a lot of cool approaching shots of the Falcon coming in and the cloud cars that they added. But some of the ones that felt a bit false were the ones when they're inside. And then you can see like and I get it. I get why you want to do that. But really those like were not really story choices. They're just like aesthetic choices, right? We're just making things a little bit better, looking a little bit better. We didn't change anything about we didn't add any scenes. We didn't, cut any scenes. We didn't do anything significant to the film. And
I
that's
just thought
really
of
the only
one.
one of these that has like no significant changes to it.
I thought of one.
What?
They now establish how Darth Vader leaves Cloud City and goes to the Star Destroyer. They show him going up into the ship.
Right.
That's the one. And people still make fun of it a little bit because it's like, yeah, we
It
didn't
wasn't
know what
clear
happened.
before?
Yeah.
Okay.
Although
Well, I forgot that
kind
wasn't in there.
I like it in the sense that it is a newer scene, and I'm like, oh yeah, like it stands out because you just don't know it as well as the other stuff.
Mhm. I didn't even notice that. So that's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah. So the one thing about watching it on this DVD that was interesting, and this is kind of speaks to the way they used to make DVDs, is the menus are so like interactive and full of life. And so everything, like the main menu is like Dagobah, and it's all the swamp and everything's video. And there's like a loop that kind of repeats if you just let it sit. And then if you go to the next one, it's like Hoth, and there's a thing of Hoth. Now, the only problem with this is that when I went to the scene selection, so again, I couldn't watch it all the way through. I watched it in pieces like I've been doing the whole time. And when it came to the scene selection part, you go to scene selection, and then for each one of these, it has like the sections of the DVDs of scenes 1 to 5, 10, that kind of thing. And every time you switch one of those, the animation goes further into the cave, further into the Hoth cave. And you see the Wampa walk by, then you see Luke move. He's like hanging from one side, and then you're on the other side. But that happens every single time, and it's like, oh, I get what they're going for, but like it's too much. It's too much of this stuff in this thing. But it was still kind of cool to have I still love having this DVD. It's really good.
Oh yeah. For me, what stands out as well is once again, some of the finest Star Wars humor is in this film. With its reputation is that it's the darkest chapter. But who are you calling scruffy looking? I thought they smelled bad on the outside. Take it easy to Luke. Like that stuff, it's very well done.
I think it's
Works very well.
Han's strongest movie. Like his character really shines in this. And he's like, I feel like he almost, I mean, if it wasn't stuff happening with Luke, he would be the protagonist. Like it almost feels like he is the main character because of all the stuff that he says and all the cool stuff that happens to him. So all the cool stuff, like when he gets tortured.
Yeah, but it's all,
they didn't even ask me any questions. Anyway,
this movie is character growth.
Yes.
Character growth, like all around. And I also love, I like one of the things that I sort of never thought about that much before, but that's clearly there is weird character matchups. So you got R2-D2 with Yoda. You've got Han with C-3PO. You've got Chewie carrying around C-3PO.
I love that one. I still love, like, since I was a kid, that's always been my favorite.
You got Leia with Lando, Han meeting Vader, my favorite scene, and giant worm meet Millennium Falcon. But you've got lots of weird matchups. It's pretty good.
You're right. And that scene with the Millennium Falcon and the worm, that one in particular, I really enjoyed. And I remember when I was watching, I told you about the previews that were on that other VHS tape I was watching. That trailer, and I'm sure the trailer, for general for Empire Strikes Back shows the shot where they're flying out of the mouth of it. But I wish they didn't do that. I remember the first time seeing that. I didn't know. Like when I watched that the first time as a kid, you thought they're in a cave. You legitimately thought it was a cave. There was and you thought the issue was the Minox on the side of the ship, right? You thought it was a great fake out, and then boom, and they're like, oh my God, we got to get out of this thing. So that I really did remember the impact of that moment watching it back this time.
And the great John Williams music in that scene, and you're like, oh, are they going to get out? The teeth are closing. Good stuff.
It occurs to me as we're talking about it, and we just finished, like we didn't watch Attack of the Clones, but it feels like Attack of the Clones is trying to be this. Attack of the Clones was trying to be character growth, but failed on like every level. And so that's kind of like part of the problem is that they're trying too hard to be like Empire Strikes Back.
Well, maybe, but I mean, it's weird that it's the same writer. You know what I mean?
It is, yeah. Well, I think that's part of the problem is that person was trying to do the same thing they did the first time with Empire Strikes Back, but it didn't work. It's like lightning in a bottle, right? You can only capture it once.
Also, speaking about character growth, I love how Luke is the whiny Tosche Station guy in A New Hope. And in this one, I think this is Mark Hamill's finest performance. Yeah. I do. I think it's the best one. It's just good. And when he yells and screams and when he's surprised that Vader, spoiler alert, when he's surprised that Vader is his father, and he yells and screams, that could have easily been funny. That could have been funny to people if you don't pull it off just right. But you don't. You feel the anguish. And there's a bunch of scenes like that in there where you're like, he's just such a good job of relaying the actuality of what that would be like if you were in that set of circumstances. I just think he's great in it.
Yeah, I felt like this is the, I wrote here, this is the beginning of the Skywalker saga because of the conversation. This starts with the throne room when the Emperor is meeting with Darth Vader and they're talking about Luke. And this is the conversation where they're saying, maybe we can turn him. Maybe we can bring him to the dark side. That to me is the beginning of the saga. I know that we do actually get the beginning of the backstory in the first movie. And we, of course, have Obi-Wan dying. That's also part of it. But as far as the relationship between Luke and Darth Vader, that's non-existent in the first movie, right? So this is the beginning of their relationship. And that's just kind of this, it's just so well done. All that stuff. So
by the way, why does Luke think Dagobah is familiar to him?
When does he say that?
When he lands there's something familiar about
Oh, you're right. He does. Yeah, I thought about that too. What is familiar? Probably. Oh, I bet you he's feeling Ben. He's probably feeling Ben's presence.
Oh, you think that's it? That's a good answer, actually, because I was like, well, or are we going to establish, like does in the Obi-Wan show, is he going to he's supposed to be watching over Luke. So is he going to just drop him off on Dagobah so Yoda can watch him for a bit? I mean, that could happen, I suppose.
Yoda's daycare, sure. And they'll get more baby Yodas. It'll be a little
actually, it could happen now that I think about it. Wait a sec, Yoda wouldn't be on Dagobah yet for the Obi-Wan.
Oh, sure he would.
Let me think about
Holy shit, that's something that never occurred to me, that we could get Yoda. Yeah. We could get Yoda. Like legitimate Frank Oz Yoda will be in this series.
Yeah, that's right. Because that's right. Okay. I had to think hard about it because he's already in exile.
Yes, they went off. They all split up at the end of Revenge of the Sith. We watched it, right?
They could go to Dagobah. God damn it.
They could. Yeah, Obi-Wan could absolutely go to Dagobah.
And then when Luke says there's something familiar about this place, it's because he was just a kid when he was there.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so good.
That'll be awesome. Oh, I hope they do that.
All right. Okay. We stumbled onto something good. I hope that's good.
Oh my God. Okay. 3PO needs to take a pill in this movie. He is like just on, like I wrote 3PO panic attack because he is just not having any of it. He is off the handle for most of the movie. Well, especially during the beginning when they're fleeing the asteroids. And then of course he's taken apart and he's like, on Chewie's back. So he is just not, this is a bad movie for 3PO.
Oh, it's bad.
But it's also to me like some of the most memorable scenes with him in this movie, right? All the lines, I remember all his lines.
You don't have to do this to impress me.
Sir, the possibility of successfully navigating an asteroid field is approximately 3,720 to 1.
Never tell me the odds.
So good.
And good, and also a good matchup with other characters.
Yeah, like you said, him with Chewie, and the fact that you can't understand Chewie. And I've been thinking about this. I kind of thought about it a little bit during Revenge of the Sith. Is like we see subtitles for other aliens, but we never see subtitles for Wookiees. And I think that's because we established early on that we don't know what Chewbacca's saying. We don't see subtitles for Wookiees, and so they've stuck to that. But we did see subtitles for Greedo. Right in that first movie. So I don't know. I guess we're never going to see subtitles for Wookiees, right?
Well, you never know. It could happen. And in fact, that's the kind of question that John Favreau would ask himself, and they go, "We'll do it." Yeah.
Why don't we see that? Well, it's because we always understand the Wookiee through the person they're talking to. So, what else?
I got another question for you.
Go ahead.
Obi-Wan Kenobi was present at the birth of Luke and Leia. So Yoda says there is another.
How does Yoda know?
Come on.
Well, because Luke.
Why doesn't Ben know?
Because Ben knows.
No, he says that boy's our last hope. And Yoda says, no, there's another. And Ben should go, oh yeah, that's right. He's a twin. Because he knows.
Oh yes. Well, that's just, Alec Guinness not saying his line. or somebody not thinking of that details. George Lucas saying whatever. I don't think that's important. That's not going to be important later on.
But he would know. The ghost. He would,
of course he would.
The ghost of Obi-Wan doesn't know.
Well, either
he
that
can
or
show up anywhere.
Or he's really chauvinistic and doesn't think a woman should be a Jedi. That's the only answer they could come up with, right?
That's in the Return of the Jedi book. That's the theory that George Lucas floats because he's a sexist pig.
Yeah, that's right.
Doesn't know. but I don't.
So okay.
I don't know.
My question for you, Ugnaughts. Do you think that what's the name of the character that Nick Nolte played? I don't remember his name. Creef or something like that in
Oh, how can
The
I
Mandalorian,
forget?
right? But he talks like
Right,
this,
right.
and he says, "I have spoken," or "I've done," or whatever he says. And the Ugnaughts in this movie are like kind of like make little squeaking kind of sounds. So is he speaking like basic? Is that what's happening there? He's not speaking his own language. You know, they also don't look quite like him. They also look a little bit more animalistic, I think. Look a little more like pigs. I
Quill?
think they should.
Is he Quill?
Quill, that's him. Yes, Quill.
Yeah. Right. So no, he learned English.
That's
And
right.
actually, but actually, some people suggest that he was that Quill was in fact on Cloud City as a slave of the Empire.
Okay.
But those-
But yes,
but
those are so those guys
Yeah.
are all slaves.
Well, that's just it. They don't seem to be when you watch it. When you watch it, they seem
No,
to
they're
take,
walking down the halls. They're like looking at each other's clipboards and they're just talking.
Well, I
and
guess we
stuff.
don't know the full story.
Yeah,
But,
but maybe I mean they could be slaves, but that could be not be part of like his race was put into slavery like the Wookiees, right? The Wookiees were
Right.
also enslaved and all kinds of other alien races because the Empire is like the Nazis. So
Right.
so yeah, then they could have enslaved him, but he probably is not tied. I mean, people making that conclusion are just trying to find connections where they aren't any, where there aren't any.
Right.
I was joking when I said that. I said I was just talking about their language. I thought the language
Right.
was strange. I don't think he was actually on Cloud City. That seems like a stretch.
no, well, I don't know. He might have been. He said that he had. Remember, he had to escape.
Yes, he did. But
his-
that was the Cloud City. Remember, it's an independent operation. They're small enough not to notice.
yeah,
Did
but
not
that turned out to be
noticed.
bull.
What? Yeah, it
Turned out
did.
to be
Yes.
bullshit.
Well, but that's because Han and Leia went there. That's why, like, the Empire
Right.
followed them to Cloud City. So it was really Han's fault that the Empire noticed Cloud City.
I've just made a deal that will keep the Empire out of here forever. Shroom. Best scene ever.
And then,
Right
but then that deal gets worse all the time, right?
It gets worse all the time.
Darth Vader alters the deal and pray he doesn't alter it any further. Like the deal did not turn out to be very good for Han or for Lando rather.
By the way,
Um,
we're gonna see all those bounty hunters on the Boba Fett show, right?
Oh sure, yeah. We'll see some.
There-
Like we'll find out. Like certainly, I think we'll see Dengar for sure because he's been mentioned after. But also I think like there's ones we haven't seen yet in any of this stuff. So there's lots they can mine for content for things and for new figures and new releases of all kinds of merchandise. So that's interesting. I can't remember. Have we seen spacesuits ever in Star Wars?
Yeah, there's a guy. Yes, there's a character in the bar in the cantina.
Oh yes, but he's
the
wearing a
astronaut
doctor's
man.
But not no, we've never seen. I think it happened in the anime series. There, we've never seen them out in space in spacesuits, have we? Like with an EVA on the side of a ship or something like that.
No, they just the closest we get, I think, is Han and Leia inside when they're cleaning the Minox and they have
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's
oxygen on
what
their
I
face.
guess
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what prompted me to write that
But that's
because it's like, yeah, they didn't bother with the spacesuit, probably for budgetary reasons, although, or probably for like shooting reasons or whatever, right? Like it was too
Yeah.
bulky or something like that. So they just go with the mask, which tells you there must be some atmosphere. You can't just go out into space with just a mask, right?
Yeah, that's true.
That's weird. Anyway, but I guess that could be true of asteroids that can have atmosphere. But I just think that, and I do remember seeing it in something. I think it was one of those anime, which I guess are not canon necessarily. Oh, that was another news item that came out. I forgot to tell you, Funko. I know you're not into Funko, but
They're
Funko
okay.
has released the first figure related to those shorts, those Star Wars Visions, and it's the samurai and his droid from that first short. With this cool little straw hat, the droid with this cool little straw
No
hat,
way.
and it's like really, and it's black and white, just like
No way.
yeah, with red on it. It looks so cool. Oh man, I might have to get.
Where'd you
myself
see that?
I don't know, saw it somewhere, somewhere online.
Oh my god.
Just Google it, Funko Star Wars Visions, and you'll find it.
Very
I was
cool.
very excited. What else? Anything else you want to say about The Empire Strikes Back?
Just well, I guess we have to give it our rating, but
Oh, this one is
the
definitely the
easiest one.
It's
Yeah.
got to be a 4.5 out of 5. I'm
Oh,
not going to give
not
it
a 5?
perfect. Oh, I don't know. Should I give it a perfect?
I give it a perfect.
Yeah, you're right.
score.
It is a perfect
Yeah.
movie. It is a perfect movie. 5 out of 5.
It's hard.
Like
it's hard
I
not
wonder
to.
if one of the reasons why George didn't add too much is because he already felt it was pretty good. Like it was already as perfect as it could be, right?
Well, I mean, he seemed to add stuff where he thought the special effects were lacking. I can't, and I think that Jabba scene got added to the first one, not because it really, once again, not because it really helped out anything in the story, But I think George Lucas saw, oh, here's a chance I can get Boba Fett in there one more time, and etc. Like I think he had different reasons for maybe putting that one in, maybe make it worth the trip to the theater to pay the full admission for one new scene, maybe. But I think most of it revolved around special effects. But as we said, I don't think like now when you look at it, you're like, well, you might as well go back and fix it again. Based on today's,
I want them to take. We'll get to this when we talk about Return of the Jedi, but that musical scene, I just want that out. I don't want that in. I get what he's trying to do, but it does not achieve. We'll talk about it later. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
That is a bad scene.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. All right.
Well,
so yes,
a
5
bad
out of
scene
5.
in a good movie. Yeah.
5 out of 5 for Empire Strikes Back. It is a perfect film. It's not our personal favorites because we have personal biases. You two were the first one. Me to the next one, to Return of the Jedi, which we will watch next week and talk about next week.
Yeah, that's good. And then we're ready. We can watch Book of Boba Fett. We're caught right up.
Are you planning to watch? We didn't say we would do this for the podcast. Are you planning to watch any Mandalorian before the Book of Boba Fett?
I don't think I'll have time to do it, but I would love to. I'd love like nothing more than that. But it also occurs to me we're going to get a little lag time probably between Book of Boba Fett and then the next season of The Mandalorian. So that
for
would be
sure. Yeah, that's not going to be. That's going to be
again,
Christmas the following year, right?
Yeah.
That's no way.
Are you going to watch it or?
I don't know. We'll see. I'm still doing my Christmas movies and I'm still doing all kinds of other stuff. So I haven't really had. I have a lot to watch right now, but I'm having fun.
Right now on TV suddenly got really good and there's like 10,000 things to watch, and stuff that I was enjoying is now like been relegated to the B team. You know what I mean? Like stuff comes along and you're like, forget it. Forget this other stuff I was watching, but I was actually really enjoying the other stuff, you know? But there's just, I mean, it's getting hard just to rank what order you want to watch stuff in. I haven't even seen James Bond, for crying out loud.
Neither have I. No, I didn't bother with it.
No. Or The Many Saints of Newark. I am not going to pay $25. Forget it. Screw you guys.
Yeah.
After Christmas, when the price drops, maybe.
Wait till it comes to, just for that, wait till it goes to Netflix. It goes to whatever the free service that you use. That's the thing. I watched, I'll just say this before we go. I watched Rare Exports last night.
Oh, so good.
This is so good. And I actually found it on Tubi. 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 I have never used it before. I didn't know what it was. It is a free platform with ad supported. The ads were actually good. I thought it was fine. It was like an ad break every 20 minutes or so. It was like a couple of ads, no repeats, all regular, normal ads that seemed to be playing fine. I thought it was a good online advertising system. So I commend Tubi for that. I don't know what their selection is like, but they had Rare Exports and that's all I needed.
See, I watched over the summer, there's a movie called Chicago Heights, a short film that was based on Sherwood Anderson's Winesburg, Ohio, one of my favorite books. I was like, I got to see this movie. I got to see it. I got to see this movie. I got to see it. Finally, it shows up there. I'm like, I'm getting it. So I get it and I watch it. And the punchline was, it wasn't that good. It was okay. I mean, it's okay, but it's like a student film almost.
Okay.
So it's almost like a student film where I was like, okay, all right. It's a good student film. Like if one of our students did it, we'd be like, wow, that's the best thing a student ever did. But if you're expecting like a big screen version of your favorite book, your expectations a little bit higher than what it was. So the second I was done that movie, I was like, well, thank you, Tubi, for having that. And then I just deleted my subscription. 1 second, I was like, bye, see you later. I'll never need this again, but maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I will need it again.
We'll see.
For Rare Exports and for nothing else.
Well, it's a great movie, and I'm going to try and buy it on DVD, actually, because I think it's worth owning. I think I'll watch that one year after year.
The Santa movie.
Yes, it's about the true origins of Santa Claus.
Creepy Santa movie.
All right, I think that's about it. Right? Nothing else to say. We're all done to Empire.
We're good.
We're moving on. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Star Wars Nerds. I'm Dan Vedabunker.
I'm Kenton Larson. Don't let the Force hit you in the ass.
That's no moon.
Now I am the master.